Used to want people to love me, so I learned how to sing. Then I thought I wanted money, so I could buy a nice thing.
I'm going to share with you 5 tips that I've learned over the course of taking care of my chickens through the winter time. So I'm going to share that with you.
Saying I want peace, it's where I am now. It's the only thing I haven't found somehow. There are other places, there are a million pretty faces, but I want peace, it's where I am now. Used to worry about the future never came.
Wow, that was quick. So that's the catcher. He just picked up 24 chickens in 3 minutes. They're quick like bunnies, I'll tell you. Here it is there. It's FREYS Hatchery. They've been in business since 1946. So I'm in St. Jacobs, Ontario, and I just picked up 24 laying hens. I'll tell you exactly what I just picked up. I picked up 12 red sex links, 8 black sex links, Colorado rocks, and I got 4 of those. So my total invoice is $363.60 for 24 laying hens. With the cost of my coop, which I figure is about $1,500, I'm into the girls now for a couple of grand. I'm hoping that I can supply my friends and family with eggs for the next 2 or 3 years. These girls are typically good for about 36 months. They usually lay between 250 and 300 eggs. That's it for now. We're gonna go home and I'm gonna unload the girls into the new coop. Yeah, so we're just getting back to the house now. I stopped to check the girls. They seemed like they were doing really well. They're used to transport. They just kind of lay down in their boxes. I'm just gonna back in here and Amber's gonna come out and we're gonna get these girls unloaded and into the coop.
Beautiful winter day here in Southern Ontario. We have had our first snowfall of the season. I do love me some winter. Seems like every year everybody is caught off guard. They don't have their snow tires on, ready for this crazy winter weather. Drove Eli to school this morning and there were several cars in the ditch. This is perfect snowman making weather. But we have an exciting day here. Frank has gone and picked up our new flock of girls. 24 new laying hens.
Got some girls coming, some sisters. It's exciting stuff. 24 laying hens in here, otherwise known as pullets.
Excited? You're gonna have to get the top of your thing on your run. They aren't gonna go out there.
Oh, you got some poopies going on, eh? Wow. That's my my Colorados. Aren't they pretty?
But they're scared, eh?
Yeah.
They're pretty. Hopefully these girls welcome them.
Yes, it is.
They just blew the other way. She got a broken talon? Yeah, the center one is bleeding. Her center toe.
Oh,
She's got a damaged talon.
okay. Go on.
Hey, girly girl!
She's got her head out the thing.
Peekaboo! Are they all laying now?
Yep.
Nice. You just say hello to them. You gotta be their protector. You gonna be a good girl?
Wowzer, Romy. All right.
All right, girls. Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Well, I think you need to keep a camera out here or something so we can watch and make sure that they're all getting along with the other girls. Mm-hmm. Did you tag the other 5 that we know?
They'll stay together.
You know the 5 will stay?
I already know them. I know their names.
Yeah, you need another roosting. Look at them pecking at her.
Yeah, she just cleaned it up. We're checking them out.
This is called the pecking orders. Like, literally.
I really like the white ones. They're pretty.
Yeah, but they're scared. You don't know them, Frank. You can't tell. You should have tagged them.
Look at their feet.
Oh, you can tell by their feet.
Yes. Look at the legs on the new girls.
Oh, okay.
You can tell by their legs. The 5 new originals are all right there in the corner. And that's a new girl there.
This one.
Yeah.
And these are the 5 originals.
Yeah.
I'm one of the OGs, man.
Yeah. This is my den. You are a guest.
All right. Well, we never really did give you a good tour of our new coop, but I'll let Frank talk about that after. One of the girls got a damaged talon the other day. She must have got her foot caught in something and made an awful mess in here in the brand new coop.
Well, I'm going to change the lights. We're only supposed to have 12 hours.
You got them on a timer?
Yeah, I got them on 12. I got them on 16 hours right now. But she said to put them on 12. Just for the first. So it comes on at 6 in the morning. She wants it off at 6 at night, she said. And then next week.
Does that heat lamp stay on all the time?
Yeah.
But that's not giving them darkness.
Oh yeah, they'll sleep with it. They just tuck their heads into their wings.
Did they roost on these poles last night?
Nope. I don't know where they roosted.
Oh, well, you put it up.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. And then they can. That's it. Stays up.
Yeah, just a piece of wood there just goes around it.
Oh, I see.
Like that, yeah.
So then you just lock it in.
Yeah.
And then this one just comes down and on the hinge, just a basic piano hinge, and then just locks it in. Okay. Yeah, because this is what we were noticing, that the girls were sleeping in the boxes and making them awfully dirty. Mm-hmm. So we don't want that.
No. Next week we have to add 1 hour. So we have to add 1 hour until they're at 16 hours.
And you sure you don't want them in the run at all?
Not until I get it cleaned up.
Getting your flock ready for the winter. What we learned tending chickens. They say chickens are the gateway animal to any homestead. There's been over 1 million backyard chicken flocks since 2020. I'm sure that number's even increased more now in 2023. We were one of those 1 million people. We got our first flock of 12 birds in 2020, just from a local breeder. We had a bit of issues. We had a rooster that came to us that had a bronchial infection, and he passed within 2 days of us getting him. We knew when he came he wasn't overly healthy, but we didn't really know what we were looking for in picking a healthy rooster. And we think that he infected the flock with the bronchial infection, and we lost, I think, 3 of our girls right away, and then over the course of time to predator, and so we were down to 5, and only 1 of those 5 was laying. So it was time to get a new flock. So we went to a local reputable hatchery, FREYS hatchery. I'll put the links in the notes. We've learned a lot, so I'm going to share some of that stuff with you once I get warmed up and have a coffee. Hey guys, I'm in here now with my warm coffee and a nice hot fire. Frank put it on the fire before he left. I've got my Christmas tree up here. I don't know if you can see it. I just got it up yesterday. And we've got our first winter snow. I'm going to share with you 5 tips that I've learned over the course of taking care of my chickens through the winter time. So I'm going to share that with you. But first, before we do that, I just wanted to kind of get into the quick, just the 411 of chicken. And they do say that there's chicken math. And I just realized that we've just become subject to that. So we've got 29 chickens out there now. We started with 12. But you know what? You've decided you want to get chickens. Why? Why have you decided to get chickens? Is it because you want to teach your kids how to do some farm chores or where their food comes from? Is it because you want to learn more about how to have sustainable food sources? Or are you just kind of that crazy chicken lady on the Instagram that wants to have the pretty coop and the boutique style breeds of chickens? Whatever your reason for getting them, you're here, you've got them now. What kind are you choosing to get? Do you want colorful egg layers? Well, these are questions you have to ask yourself. Do you want breeds that produce a lot of eggs? Do you want good temperament? Do you want a chicken that's going to be able to be, captured and walked around with by little people? And do you want them to jump in your lap and kind of become more like family pet? Certain breeds are more tolerant of being handled. You certainly, if you live in our climate, you want to make sure that you're getting a breed that's cold hardy. Do you want the boutique style, pretty frizzles and things like that? So you've got to determine what kind of birds you want. But now that you've decided that, now there's several stages to the chicken's lifespan. From weeks 1 to 4, that's your chicks, that's your baby chicks. That's where you're going to have, the brooder set up. You're going to have a good heat source for them. They're going to need to be in a protected area from predators, things like that. They're going to kind of mostly be either in a garage or in a basement or something, and that's where you're going to be feeding them their feeder starter pellets. It's got more proteins and more calciums for them to grow quite nicely. So from weeks 5 to week 15, this is where we call them the teenagers, and this is where they're starting to change their looks. The roosters are cockerels. You're starting to notice them kind of coming into their own, and the chicks, the hens, are now what they call pullets. So this is when they're starting to come into their adolescence and they're starting to learn about the egg production. Slowly starting between week 16 and 18, you'll start to see them laying possibly starting to lay some egg. You're going to slowly start to wean them off of their starter pellet into their laying mash. And then this is where, if you have a dog and you're trying to switch them and wean them into a different food, you kind of want to do that gradually. So between weeks 15 and week 18, starter pellets into the layer mash, because it can kind of be hard on their digestive system. So if you can kind of wean them a little easier mixing the two. But usually we start to see some excitement in the egg laying around week 18 or so. And that's how old these girls are that we've got here now. So they've gone through all of their growth stages at the hatchery, and we pick them up here today as layers. So hopefully we can start to get some egg production here shortly. But weeks 18 onward, we are in a full egg laying time. Until we reach month about 18, 19, you'll start to see lots of feathers on the coop floor, on the area that they're staying in, and you're thinking that they have been attacking each other and that they're dying because they look terrible. This is called molting. So they'll start to lose their feathers. They literally look like they're dying. At least I thought that they were dying. It was terrible. I was like, oh my gosh, Frank, there's something wrong with the birds. They've been attacked or they're attacking each other. I don't know. They're losing their feathers off their head and off of the backs of their neck, and they're just molting. They just look terrible. But that's standard, and that's pretty typical, I learned. So this is a stage when we want to start to introduce more protein to their diets. So feathers are made mostly of protein, and a lot of people will feed more eggshells, more oyster shells, things like that during this time. That's not actually what they want, because that's more calcium, but they do need the protein. So you can get that through nuts and seeds, different bugs. This is where the mealworm will come in. Fish, chicken, yes, that's right. They will eat their own chicken. So if you have leftovers for dinner or whatever, you can certainly feed that to the girls. One of the things that you just keep in mind is that whatever you eat, you can feed your chicken. I would never feed them spoiled food or rotten food or food that's gone off, because their digestive system cannot handle that either. So just, table scraps, things like that are still pretty fresh. They can certainly go through that pretty easily. But the best source of protein for them when they're molting is their own eggs. Scramble them up, eggs, shells and all. So the extra calcium is great, but the omelet is the perfect source of protein. So that's the best way to do it. Okay, so I just put her out. So hopefully I don't get interrupted anymore. I've tried to do this vlog like 5 times. Let's get back to it. Number 1 is heat and ventilation. Yes, heat lamps in a chicken coop are considered a massive no-no by all the pros. Frank's put one in our coop, our stationary coop. I've tried to talk him out of it, and he's kind of hoping that this is not going to be an issue for us.
So I decided this year that I was going to put a heat lamp in. I'm not sure if I should, because what I'm seeing here, so we've now got 29 girls in my coop, and I'm just looking through the window right now, and the heat lamp is putting off an awful pile of light, as you can see. Now, there's conflicting information on the internet about whether or not you should run a heat lamp. I don't know. I've had chickens now this is my 4th winter, and I've never used heat. But I figured in a coop with 29 chickens, and it's a sizable coop, you know, it's 8 feet high, it's 8 wide, it's 8 long, and I wanted to just put a little heat lamp in there because I want them to roost on top of those roosting bars that I put in, which is just a little montage of branches for one of the trees that fell. So anyways, I'm not getting them on there. I mean, I've got 4 on there, but most of them are still standing around, as you can see. I've actually got one of them that's eating, and I don't know if that's a positive. It's getting later in the day. These chickens are only supposed to have 12 hours of light, and that is putting off an awful pile of light. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn off the heat lamp tonight, and I'm going to check them again in about an hour to see if they're roosting and sleeping. I mean, they look like they want to sleep, but there's a lot of light here.
The big issue is obviously fire, but he's got it mounted high so that the chickens can't knock it over. The other issue causes moisture, and because he has a good ventilation system in the coop, he's not so concerned about that. The worst thing for a chicken in the wintertime is moisture. So if you've done your vapor barriers and you've done all of the tarping around your coop, but you haven't got good ventilation and you're causing moisture, that is a recipe for a respiratory disease for your chickens. So it is important to make sure that you have the urine in the chicken poop. It causes an ammonia smell, and that too can cause illness. So we certainly don't want that. So if you have ventilation through the roof, which is what Frank has, and he's not so concerned about the heat lamps. The other issue with the heat lamps is that when they are being warmed by that heat lamp, if you ever have a power outage or a power failure, your chickens have adapted to having that heat source, and if they no longer get it, they will have a hard time with it. So when you start doing it that way, you must continue. So that's the issue is if you start with it, and you know, chickens have been around for a long time, and they have never needed to have a heat lamp. So, and they've been able to survive many a winter. So we have a generator, so Frank's not so concerned about us losing power. So that is not of concern to him, he said. So we'll see. I don't know if I can talk him out of taking it out, but we'll see. The other issue for a heat source is if you're not using a heat lamp, is the deep litter method. So if you're using like pine shavings or anything like that we're using, and you just continue to lots of freshen it up by putting it on, the stuff that's below decays and they scratch it up. And the straw itself is the spines, it's kind of hollow. It will hold heat and trap heat in there, and you'll be surprised at how warm that coop stays once you start using the deep litter method. Number 2 is the wind blocks. You definitely want to make sure that you're protecting your chickens from wind. That's the biggest thing. If you've got your run covered with tarp, things like that, that's great, so that if they're roosting at night and you've got the ventilation happening around them, their face level or around their bodies, you want to go ahead and make sure that you cover that, because you do not want the direct wind blowing on them during their roosting hours at night. You want that ventilation above their heads so that they can comfortably cozy in without having any sort of wind blowing on them. Okay. And so number 3 is protecting their feet and their wattles and their combs from frostbite. So the thing is once you've protected them from the wind and the wind block and the heat ventilation, as long as you don't got moisture and you don't have direct wind on them, they should be fine. But if they are subject to getting some frostbite on their combs or on their wattles and on their feet, you can go ahead and put some Vaseline on. You'll notice on the top of their comb gets a little bit black. That's frostbite, and they've gotten exposed to some excessive wind and or some moisture, and the moisture is really what causes the frostbite to go quickly and rapidly. So as long as you keep them dry and not getting too moist, that should be fine. But again, chickens do not like getting their feet cold. They have the nice feathers to keep them warm around their bodies, but they don't have much to keep their feet dry and warm. If you can put down a lot of straw in their run, things like logs, stumps, benches, anything that they can jump up on and they don't need to get their feet into the snow. I noticed that if the girls didn't have any path to walk on, they would not even go out into the snow area. They just don't like the cold. But having the benches and having those logs, it's also something fun for them to play with because they do get bored. They're like little children that get bored, and they want to make sure that they're having fun out there too in the cold weather. Ladders, they like ladders, things like that they can climb up on and stuff. So number 4 is to provide healthy snack. High fat, high energy snack. The extra fat and energy that is required to digest these foods generates more heat food at night, and it'll help keep them warm. Foods such as their scratch, especially the cracked corn, the unsalted peanuts, sunflower seed. This is where you could also use some mealworm and some extra things like that as well, just to kind of give them some more snacks during that the winter months. And now number 5, the final one is frozen water and frozen eggs. How do you keep their water from freezing? Well, realistically, there's no way unless you're using heated water bowls. So the heated water bowls, which we do have in our coop, and we'll keep those fresh every morning. We'll freshen them up, and they do love snow. Actually, they'll peck away at the snow if you fill up their water bucket with snow. They do like to peck away at that. But if you don't have the option for a heated water bowl, you'll just have to make sure you go out a couple of times a day and give them fresh water. You can also use the horse trough pliable buckets that easily kick the water out of if they do freeze. But also too, I like to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar during the winter month. This helps to boost their immune system. Only just a couple of times a week that I'll just add a few drops to their water. And the eggs, that comes to freezing the eggs, you know what, you can't get away from that here in the Canadian cold. So unfortunately, you just have to get out early enough to collect them. Just know when your girls lay them. Sometimes you just kind of will know the clock time when they lay, and just get out there in time to to collect them before they have a chance to freeze. They can freeze pretty quickly here, especially when the weather and the temperatures dip down. But if they do freeze, as long as your egg has not broke through the membrane of that egg, you'll see you can tell it'll be like a jelly-like through substance through the shell. But if it's just broken open and it's frozen still, that is a safe egg to eat for human consumption. But if it has broke through, I chose not to eat those eggs only because you just didn't know if there was any sort of contamination. Even though they may have looked clean, you just never know. So I would use those eggs to mix up for the girls and then feed it back to the chickens and or the dogs. So I would use the shell, the egg, and all, and just scramble it up into an omelet. So that's kind of what we did and what we've done. We've learned some things over the years, and hopefully you find this helpful and you enjoy your winter months with your chickens. And chickens actually are one of the easiest farm animals to tend to. We have been loving our chickens since we've had them, and yeah, we're looking forward to this new flock and getting into some new eggs here shortly. So thanks so much for hanging out, guys, and until next time, stay safe and keep living.
So I don't even know if I can call myself a homesteader. I'm not really even sure. When I grew up, my parents had a hobby farm. And on that hobby farm, we had cows, horses, goats, chickens, rabbits. And I used to be very involved. Back then, do I know enough about it to manage animals myself? I do. But this is the first time in many years that I've had this many animals to be responsible for. Now, they're only chickens. I haven't really had any animals other than my 4 sons for the last 25 years to be responsible for. So this is a fairly big deal for me. Just want to make sure that I'm doing right by them. I just checked the girls again. First night in the coop. I'm a little bit nervous. This is the first time I've had this many animals that I'm responsible for. I think that this goes well. I think we might go with some goats, maybe some goat milk. One of the girls that we follow online, Roots and Refuge, Jess and Maya, huge inspirations for me and for my wife. I find that you really just got to make mistakes as you go, because you're gonna make. One of the things that Jess said that's really stuck is death is just part of this. When you have animals, they're livestock, but they're also dead stock, and you're gonna have bad days. It's really just how you handle the bad days. Try to limit it, minimize it, just do your best, and that's all we're gonna do. If you can find a passion, you got to go with it. This is just a big purpose in my life right now. Trying to manage these things gives me a reason to get up in the morning, gives me a reason to keep doing what I'm doing, and if I can provide for my family, that's really what this is all about, is providing. Anyways, we'll talk again soon, guys.
Saying I want peace, it's where I am now. It's the only